Hey, this is Eternal Midnight. I'm James. We're here with Chad and Logan. And James Gunn has just been reinstated as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, probably because no one else wants to touch that controversial hot seat. So we're going to talk about that. What do you think of it, Chad?
I'm behind it. I
Yeah.
was never one of those. I was never one of those big psychopaths who was like, let's storm Disney and burn it to the ground because they fired him.
No.
I thought it was bullshit because I'm like, oh, who gives a shit about some stupid tweets? But I also was just like, well, it happened. It happened. I mean,
Yeah.
we've all seen why. I mean, the most of the people who've actually read the articles, not just the headlines, know he got rehired because of his professional attitude after being let go.
Oh yeah,
So
he handled it really well. It was
exactly.
impressive.
So he deserved, in my opinion, it's like he unjustly fired? Yes. Did it happen and did I accept it? Yes. Did he deserve to be rehired? And am I glad he got rehired? Absolutely. So it's good to have him back.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't a fan of Guardians 2, but hopefully 3 can get better.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with me is that I don't see the point in making a third movie with a different director just to fill a quota. To
Mm.
me, it was either you bring Gunn back to make it or just don't bother at all. And I felt like that's what it was going to be anyway, even if Disney wanted it, because no one was wanting to touch the movie, not even Taika Waititi. And
Yeah, it almost feels like they all were like doing it in a way where it's like they were sending the message to Disney going, rehire him or don't do it because none of us want it.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, why would you want it though? It makes no sense to make a third movie with another director with his script. Because I feel like it would
Hmm.
just be so jarring. Because either the directional style would be a poor imitation of Gunn's, or it would be a messy sort of jarring contrast between the two, the script and the directing. Plus, he knows these characters. Like, yeah, he may have mishandled them a few times, but he's the one that's brought them into the MCU. He's developed them over the course, and he's shown he can do emotional, well-written moments, even in Infinity War with Gamora and Star-Lord, even if he fucked it up with a stupid joke. But there are,
Well, it's also it would just I have a feeling that if 3 was made with just like, some dumb gun for hire, basically,
yeah,
the actors would half-ass it. Batista wouldn't try.
Oh, absolutely.
he wouldn't get in the movie. I don't think. I think he would just boycott it. I think no matter what, the production was fucked without Gunn, and he does bring a certain level of morale to the guys. He's definitely
Hmm.
he seems like a fun director to work with. So I understand. I mean, Batista, I didn't really agree with his attitude. I think he was unprofessional, if anything.
Oh,
But
he handled it. He handled it like I think most people assumed Gunn was going to handle things.
yeah,
Batista handled it like a spoiled 5-year-old. It felt like,
yeah,
Like a
give me what
newborn.
I want or I quit.
yeah.
It's like, dude, chill out.
I didn't like the way he handled it at all. I think Gunn just he showed how I've always loved him, and so the way he handled it was just a further of how he is as a person, how he handles himself, and I think that just shows such a contrast between how he used to be with his edgy, provocative humor, which is it's humor. I don't think it's genuine anyway. But he apologized for that way before Disney even hired him. So the whole cancel culture thing was just like I'm glad they've rehired him because it's a step against cancel culture. So I think it
Well,
sets a
it
precedent.
showed the difference in maturity from what the tweets were
Yeah,
to how he handled it. It showed that he was not that person anymore that made those tweets. So it's like that was the proof we needed
yeah.
basically to show, look, guys, that's not who he is anymore. He doesn't act like that. So,
And I can't get outraged. I've said worse shit when I was younger. If we pulled
oh
stuff
yeah.
up I said when I was 13, which is 5 years ago, I mean, I've got some really bad shit in my closet, which is why I've tried to delete most of my social media. Because you really don't want your employer going digging through your Twitter shit from 10 years ago. I
Well,
mean,
and it was all handled already in the past, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's like it may sound conspiracy theory. I think it might have just been to drum up some hype or something like that. Because I mean, this seemed like it fixed itself pretty
Well,
easily.
it
I
was a right wing guy
mean,
that he's done. Like I think it was a right wing guy who's done some really fucked up shit. Like he's a self-described rapist. I've read a few times.
Yeah, no, he's like a convicted rapist or something like
Oh, yeah,
that.
all right, yeah. So he brought all this up because he was like, "Oh, well, the left are doing cancel culture. I'm going to jump in on it." And I mean, the whole thing is just terrible, and I don't think any side should do it. But
it just feels like Disney jumped the gun way too fast when they
yeah,
fired him.
oh, they
It
did.
just feels like it was like, it's like it was a Monday morning. This psycho alt-right dude brought this information up, and then by Monday afternoon he was fired. It's like
Yeah, they
that.
definitely did.
It went way faster than it should have been.
They saw this and they thought, oh, people are going to read these old tweets and they're going to get really pissed off, and if we don't fire him, that's it. Granted, some people did. I've argued with some people who think that he's a genuine pedophile, which is questionable because he's. I mean, maybe he is, but the tweets don't indicate that. But yeah, I mean, but people. I don't think enough people are outraged to justify it.
No, and just also fans shouting, like, oh, this picture proves it. It's like,
Yeah.
sorry, none of us know this man in real life. We don't know
Exactly.
what he does at night. So it's like, that's another. I can't stand when fans do the whole, oh, he is or isn't something. It's like, you don't know him.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like,
the
please stop acting like you're his best friend and you hang out with him like every Saturday night or something. It's like, you don't actually know who he is. Please stop defending him when you don't know the full story.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think Ricky Gervais, I think was on the True Geordie podcast or something, he brought up a really good point, which is comedians now have to plan their jokes 10 years in advance. They have to make their jokes bulletproof. You can't just, you can't say a joke now and leave it there. You have to make sure that it can't be torn apart and used against you in the future, which is such a shit thing to have to do.
You live in such a thin-skinned world now where everybody is just offended by so much bullshit. It's like, what happened? It's like, what happened to people's balls? What happened to, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Just what happened?
Well, what I brought up as an example is Al Murray's Pub Landlord, if you've ever watched him. He plays this character of a sexist, racist, stereotypical British patriot, and that is where his stand-up, that's what his stand-up was. It was this sort of women are subservience to men, and British is the best, and we should be white and British and patriotic. And it's hilarious, but that's not
awesome.
That's not who he is. It's an act he puts on. It's jokes he makes, and if we take everything seriously, we're not allowed to enjoy stuff like that, and we have to take that, and we have to go. I'm triggered.
Look at Borat. Look at Borat.
Exactly.
I mean, that just sat and made fun of America like no other, and you didn't see me crying about it. I was just like, it's hilarious. Who cares?
It's selective offendedness, and I mean, I don't take a political side in this because I think both do it, but they pick and choose what they want to be offended by. A lot of people, and I think you can't say this is okay and this isn't okay. Who decides that? It's either it's all okay or it's not all okay when it comes to comedy.
Absolutely.
You can't decide. Like, no one should have that authority, and I think with Gunn, that's sort of what happened. Oh, the pedophile jokes aren't okay, but the jokes that this guy made that I laughed at in Ragnarok, those were great. But
yeah, I mean, just look at other actors and actresses. I mean, people other offensive ones who say horrible things, like Sarah Silverman or Amy Schumer or Lena Dunham. I mean, they make some pretty crass shit, and they're still in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, because Disney didn't fire Sarah Silverman from Wreck-It Ralph, and she has just as bad tweets. It's like,
oh, exactly.
If you go back 10 years, everyone has bad tweets, and if you look at the history of Walt Disney, come on.
Oh, that was brought up so much when this whole thing went down. Like, oh yeah, Disney, look at all the stuff that you've done, all the racist cartoons and all the things about Walt himself.
Let's dig up the shit from their past and use it against them. I mean, it's such a dumb thing to do. People change over time. They don't stay the same static individual their entire life. Yeah. People grow, culture grows, society grows, and people grow with it. So I think to just sort of look at what someone was 10 years ago and ignore all the progress they've made, it's ridiculous. And firing him sets the wrong precedent, but rehiring him is a great move. And now we'll get Adam Warlock. So,
yeah.
I was genuinely glad to see it. When they said he was brought back, I'm like, you know what? Good. Like I said earlier, wasn't the biggest fan of Guardians 2, but you know what? If they were gonna just get some young dummy to do Guardians 3, I would have been the same. Don't do it. Either have James Gunn do it himself. This whole thing is his project. It's like either have him do it or just forget about it and move on from it.
It's his baby,
Yeah, it is, exactly. And an argument I saw is, well, why not get better directors to do it? And I'm just there thinking, James Gunn, yeah, James Gunn has brought these characters up. He's created these characters, and he's done this adaptation himself in the MCU. These are his version of the Guardians. To have another director come in and use them would be really jarring. And if they're a better director, why not just let them start from the ground up themselves? Why put them onto someone else's project? That makes no sense.
Is that why Gunn wrote the script for the Guardians in Infinity War?
Yeah, they're his characters. That's why he wrote them, and I think at times they were really stupid, but I think basically everything with Star Lord and Gamora was quite good. It was mostly like Rocket Raccoon was quite good. It was mostly Drax and Mantis I had a problem with.
They are pretty stupid though, you know, like
They were.
Yeah, but Drax went from like, here's how I've always compared it. It's like Drax started out basically the same way Alan did in the first Hangover, and he's kind of like, you know, an idiot savant. But it was like, and then by the time you got to like Hangover 2 and 3, Alan was like unredeemably stupid.
Yeah.
And Drax did the same thing. Guardians 2 and Infinity War, he was like beyond stupid to the point where it's like, this isn't even the same character that he was in the first Guardians, where it was like they said, you know, oh, he doesn't get metaphors. And then it's like, he's standing there eating chips saying he's invisible. It's like, what?
Yeah, he's not. They've turned him into a character of who he was. And it's so annoying to see, but I think it's mainly because of the response from fans, and he sort of went, oh, people like this, let's turn it up a notch, and they still liked it, which I think, that's sort of a response of what happens when fans eat things up, that happens, and it's not going to get better. I don't think Guardians 3 will probably still have Drax like that, but on the plus side, I mean, he'll probably bring in more characters, like how he brought Mantis in and made Nebula a bigger character. So I'm excited to see what he does there. Like if Warlock becomes a member or something, that would be cool. Because I don't want to see him as the villain, to be honest. Personally, I really hope they use someone else. Introducing Kang the Conqueror would be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
Yeah, and you don't defeat him after that movie. Have him become a recurring character that eventually becomes the big bad. Something like that. Because I think after Thanos, either you ditch the formula or you build up to something else.
Definitely. I mean, and now that he's doing Suicide Squad 2 before he's doing Guardians 3, it's going to give them time to, with the new acquisition of characters from Fox, to change and add things, and it'll give them more time now to also see what, you know, look further into the future and see what direction they want everything to go in once Endgame and Far From Home are done.
I mean, say what you want about Guardians 2, like, I don't mind it. I think there's some parts I think are really dumb. I think we disagree on a bit there with the ego and stuff. But
Guardians 2 is a hard one because it's got some really good things in it, but overall, I just didn't think the majority of it worked. I mean, everything with Jan was amazing, but it's just, I just didn't care for what the story itself was, and it just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about it, though. He did a good job with the cosmic side of the MCU, so I'm really hoping they go back to their original plans, which was that he would sort of be the 5G of the cosmic side, because I think he could do a really good job of managing it.
Easily. I mean, I remember there was even talks of people going, shit, put him in charge of space for the DC movies, which I think if Disney hadn't rehired him, Marvel hadn't rehired him, I think he could have done an amazing job with the space portion of the DC movies. But it's back with Disney. So DC, you're on your own again. Sorry.
See, I think if you put him as a producer and have him handle the cosmic movies, I'd love to see him oversight things like Captain Marvel 2, where they could bring in a young Yondu and a more young Ronan and have that with the Skrull refugees. I'd love to see more of that side of the MCU explored anyway, which it sounded like they were sort of starting to sideline after Gunn got fired. All of that stopped being talked about. So I'm hoping that comes back into the discussion, because that's what I was really excited for. I didn't care about Guardians 3 as much. And he was introducing Adam Warlock, so why not introduce Silver Surfer, Galactus, maybe even have him produce the Fantastic Four movie.
Definitely.
I could see him doing all of that. I think Taika Waititi, lots of people were saying he should. I think they were just saying that because Thor was kind of a cosmic movie, but his humor, I think it wouldn't fit a whole range of movies. It wouldn't work. You couldn't build a universe with that humor. Imagine if 5G had done that with Iron Man all the way through Phase 1, like how it wouldn't have gotten to where it is today. James Gunn at least has a balance sorted.
Hmm.
Like, he knew when to be emotional in Guardians 2. He knew when to cut that back and have some comedy. There's a few
Yeah.
moments where he throws it in really jarring, but I think that's probably more Disney influence than anything.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I can see him taking a good portion of the MCU forward, but I don't know if they'll still let him. I don't know if it's just going to be like, I'll come back for this one movie.
It depends what I think it all comes down to how much he enjoys working with Warner Brothers and DC. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, honestly, look at it this way. Say behind locked doors, Warner Brothers has offered him, hey, do Suicide Squad 2 for us, reboot it, and we'll give you space of DC. For all we know, they could be considering it, or maybe he's going to enjoy the characters he does. It's another one of those things where it's like, now time will tell. I mean, again, since we don't know the man, he might still be better at Disney and Marvel for this, and he's like, I'll come back and do Guardians 3, but then I'm still leaving again, and he wants to go to DC. Or he could have just taken Suicide Squad 2 as something interesting, and he's going to do it, and when he's done with it, he goes, good, now I get to go back to Marvel where I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's a tough one.
So
I think we'll see after 2023. It's going to be a while now.
it'll be interesting to see what he wants at this point.
I'm interested to see if he's bitter or not, because Feige sounded like he was standing up for Gunn, and I think it was more Disney than Marvel. So I think if his relations with the guys working in Marvel are still good, I think we'll be all right with him. I'd love to see him handle.
This comes down to what he wants, I think, at this point.
Yeah, but I can't imagine anyone else that we've seen working in the MCU handling characters like Galactus. I feel like he would do a standout job of it, because he turned Ego, who I don't really like in the comics, into a pretty good character. I think there's little changes he's made to the story of what he's adapted, and I think it's worked really well, like having Yondu raise Star-Lord and having Ego as his biological father. There's so many little things I would have never thought of that really worked. And I'd love to see more of that intricate world building happen again.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the Fox deal, like the original Fox deal, was that they got Ego and they traded like Teenage
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
That's the one. Yeah, didn't they trade those? So he did the original Fox
Yeah,
deal.
they traded her for Ego.
Yeah, they did he's the headliner of the original Fox deal, so fuck it, let's have him use more of those characters now that they're freely available to him. He doesn't have to go behind doors and swap characters around.
Well, still got to do that with Sony.
Oh, that's going to be a fucked one, because Ryan Coogler wanted Kraven in Black Panther, which didn't happen. Which is like, oh, god damn it, Sony. We need to
That would have been really cool, actually.
We need to do a whole episode on Sony's fucking new cinematic universe, because it's a mess. They've got 8 years planned and everything. Nightmare. But James Gunn, he's definitely... It's a good thing to have him back. Sorry about this jarring cut here, but we noticed in editing that the videos have been getting cut off at the end, which is kind of annoying, but we're going to fix that in future. Ultimately, we all agree that cancel culture being brought into question is a great thing, and we're really excited to see where James Gunn goes forward in Marvel and DC. So if you want to hear us talk about more things geek, share our controversial opinions, or anything like that, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching.